What if the real path to a truly fulfilling life wasn't about getting more stuff, but about becoming more? What if there was this ancient blueprint that just flips our whole modern idea of success completely on its head? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, a pretty radical design for what it means to be genuinely happy, or as the text puts it, blessed.
So let's just start right there. When you hear that word, blessed, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Come on, be honest. For a lot of us, our culture paints a very specific picture, right? It's all about financial success, having a ton of influence online, maybe a little bit of power. But is that really it? Is that all there is to a flourishing life?
Okay, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got society's playbook. Promote yourself, get more stuff, climb that ladder. But the blueprint we're looking at today, it offers a totally different path. It says swap out that pride for humility. Swap the drive to acquire for a heart of mercy. And switch out the quest for personal power with the call to be a peacemaker. It's a completely different operating system for how to live.
So where in the world does this radical idea come from? Well, it's from one of the most famous speeches ever given, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And we're zooming right in on the very beginning of it to this incredibly powerful section known as the Beatitudes.
And this is absolutely crucial to get. This isn't some checklists or rules you have to follow to be a good person. No, Jesus presents these as blessed attitudes. They're like portraits of a person whose inner life is just thriving. They describe a kind of character that taps into a much deeper reality, and that leads to this profound, unshakable joy.
So this whole blueprint for a blessed life, it starts from the inside and works its way out. It's an inward revolution. And the very first steps are all about rewiring our internal posture, starting with something our world often sees as a weakness, but is presented here as the ultimate strength: humility.
It all kicks off with being poor in spirit. Now, this has nothing to do with your bank account. It's about spiritual humility, an honest admission that, you know what, we don't have it all figured out, that we have this deep need for something bigger than ourselves. It's the polar opposite of that prideful, I got this attitude. And right alongside that is blessed are those who mourn. Those are the people who let their hearts actually break for the injustice and pain they see in the world and even in their own lives. The promise isn't that being sad is the goal, but that this kind of real, authentic grief is what opens the door to real comfort.
Okay, next up is a word that gets so misunderstood: meekness. In our culture, meek just sounds like weak, right? Like being a doormat. But that's not what it meant at all. True meekness is about gentleness, but it's a gentleness that comes from having incredible strength that's perfectly under control. Think of it like a powerful stallion that's been tamed. It hasn't lost any of its strength, it's just learned how to channel it for a good purpose.
And this is where the totally upside-down logic of this blueprint just becomes crystal clear. The world tells us that the aggressive ones, the forceful ones, the people who take what they want, they're the ones who win. But Jesus says, nope, it's the humble, the gentle, the meek. They're the ones who will ultimately inherit the earth. It's just a stunning reversal of everything we expect.
The last piece of this inward revolution is all about what we want most. What do you really hunger for? This describes a person who has this deep, soul-level craving to see God's goodness and His justice and His healing, His righteousness at work in the world. It's a desperate kind of desire, and the promise is that this spiritual hunger will be totally, completely satisfied.
So once this internal revolution starts to take root, it just can't be contained. It naturally starts overflowing into our actions, and it completely changes how we treat the people around us. This is where the blueprint moves from our inner attitude to our outward expression: compassion in action. And the first outward expression is mercy. The principle here is so simple, but it's profound. When we make the choice to give forgiveness and active compassion, we position ourselves to receive it. This isn't just about feeling sorry for someone. Being merciful is an active choice to show kindness, especially to people who maybe don't deserve it.
Next up is being pure in heart. This is all about integrity. It's about your inner world matching your outer world. It means having this single-minded devotion to what is good and true, with no hidden agendas or ulterior motives. And the incredible reward for this kind of transparency? The ability to truly see God, to perceive and experience His presence in a much clearer way.
Then we get to the peacemakers, and you've got to notice how active this is. This isn't peacekeeping, which, let's be real, is usually just about avoiding conflict. A peacemaker, they courageously dive right in. They work to actively mend broken relationships, to create harmony where there's fighting, and to connect people to each other and to God. It's such an important job that Jesus says they'll be called children of God.
And finally, we get to what is, hands down, the most challenging teaching on this list. Blessed are you when you face pushback for living this way. It's a really stark reminder that when you live a life of radical humility and mercy and peace, in a world that often values pride and power and conflict, you shouldn't be shocked if there's some friction, but the promise is that your reward is great.
So we've just walked through this incredible, totally countercultural blueprint. But, this isn't meant to be just some interesting theory. The real question is, how do we actually start living this way? Let's get super practical.
The key here is just to start small. Instead of feeling totally overwhelmed trying to do all of these at once, the challenge is simple. Pick just one. Choose one attitude to focus on this week. And let's zero in on what our world desperately needs right now: being a peacemaker.
So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, at work, it could be as simple as making a point to really listen to a colleague's opinion, especially one you disagree with, before you even think about reacting. At home, maybe it means you decide to be the one to calm things down when a family conversation gets tense. And online, where arguments are basically the currency, it means intentionally refusing to get sucked into the drama and trying to understand instead. Small, concrete actions that create real peace. This ancient blueprint offers a path to a life of really deep meaning and joy, and it runs completely opposite to so much of what our modern world is screaming is important. So the question for you is, which one of these blessed attitudes will you choose to put into practice this week? Will you be a peacemaker, or maybe focus on showing mercy or humility? The choice is yours.